What is going on, Swoopers? Welcome back to another episode of Swoop Luke. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the AFLW Round 4 against Melbourne and the State of Origin. So let's roll the intro and jump straight into it.
Collingwood win their greatest ever margin as Collingwood unleashed.
If this is the first time you're tuning in to Swoop Luke, a big welcome and a big thank you. Be sure to hit that like and that subscribe button. But if you're a returning swooper, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning back in. So let's get into this AFLW match. So last night, as you all know, it was a big doubleheader down at Marvel Stadium. The girls were going to play first, and then it was the State of Origin straight after them. The girls were looking to atone for their really shattering defeat against Fremantle last week, where we lost by, a few points. This week didn't go as planned as Melbourne beat us soundly by 20 points. We got a couple consolation goals at the end of the game, but Melbourne were out the blocks straight up, and it really took us by not so much surprise because we knew what was going to happen. We knew that they were a really good pressure team, but we were just stunned. Maybe the big lights, coming from Fremantle didn't rest up as well as we should have, but there is a lot to improve on. So like I said from the get-go, Melbourne came out of the blocks, kicked 2 goals in that first quarter to our 0. What I did notice was that our forwards weren't presenting. They were really stagnant, waiting for the ball to come to them instead of leading up and presenting. And with Melbourne, they've obviously been in the competition as long as we have. They've got a bit more of experienced heads, led by Daisy Pearce and stuff like that. They were able to cut off any ball that was coming into our forward 50 because we were so stagnant. And I don't think it was the delivery of the ball that was hindering us. If no one's leading up to the kicker, they can't really do much else other than pop it in high and long and hope for a mark. They're not really going to stab passes, short inside, the 20, 30 metre from the goals if no one's going to be there to mark the ball. So they go high, it creates a 50-50 ball, but it was pretty much an 80-20 ball because Melbourne were just mopping it up in that first quarter and throughout the game as well. We started off the second quarter really well. We showed what we can do when we're actually switched on. Shani Layton, the most improved player in the AFLW, and I'll keep saying that until the cows come home. She kicked, and she went back and kicked for goal, probably about, 30, 35 metres out, and she nailed it, and it was amazing. Her jump for joy. And then Jamie Lambert copped a head-high free kick for her, went back, slotted a goal. She did get a little bit knocked out in that first quarter, has a nice shiner on her left eye, and but she came out and played. She's been the best player in the competition this year so far, and she played her heart out. First half of that quarter, we did really well. Second half, our defence wasn't switched on, and we conceded another 2 goals. What I mean by we weren't switched on was just that, I guess you could say we were caught ball gazing, just hoping someone else could do the job for us. And when that doesn't work out, Melbourne were very lively in their forward line, and 9 times out of 10, they were getting that mark, they were getting that handball, and it was just caught our defenders off guard. In the second half, it was more of the same as the first half, except we didn't show as much intent that we did in that start of that second quarter. Sarah Rowe kicking her second goal, which is really good for her confidence, but we got the loss in the end, losing by 20 points. Really like Benici's attack on the ball, 22 disposals, 6 tackles as well. She gave us something when we weren't looking that well, especially in that midfield. She was trying to create as much as she could. Shani Layton, like I just alluded to before, most improved player, probably the best ruckman in the game at the moment. She just keeps getting better. And Brianna Davey, she returned last week, but it was more of that style that we came to love in the VFLW and how she was playing in the AFLW with Carlton. I also love this intent from Jamie Lambert. Nice smother off the boot of the Melbourne player, creates that turnover, and that's the 1%ers that you want to see from your team. The dislikes for the game, like I said, very stagnant in our forward line. It was like we were just waiting for that ball to come to us, not wanting to create that extra work, that extra lead. And after getting used to the last 3 weeks of how well we've been playing, it's kind of a shame that yesterday went the way that it did. Another dislike, which is kind of a double-edged sword. Our running game is really good. When it's on, it's really good. And the handball chain and the links. But it kind of alludes to that first dislike. If we're stagnant, if we're not lively, the handballs just go to someone flat-footed or behind, and they don't create that run, turnover, and that's what was kind of catching us out yesterday. The biggest dislike of the game was Ash Brazel doing that knee. It does look really bad. It looks like an ACL, but I'm not a doctor. I only saw it on the TV. Everyone thinks it's an ACL, but they're getting scans. I think it was last night or today. I do wish her all the best, though. She has been, since the inception of the AFLW, our most consistent player, one of the best defenders in the game, and it's just going to be a shame, not even for Collingwood football team, but for Collingwood's netball team. And she's an Aussie Diamond, I think the netball team is called as well. It's just so sad. I think that's the 9th or 10th ACL in the AFLW this season alone. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely shattering. It's at Morwell. It's at Morwell. That's what I said, yeah? So, next week we verse the Doggies, who have had a so-so season as well. They've only won the one game. Next week's game is actually a double-header with our men's team. It's at Morwell Reserve at 1:10. The guys versus St Kilda straight after it. So, if you can, get down there. It'll be a good day of football. So, my Swoop votes for today: 1 vote, Shani Layden, 23 hitouts, 5 tackles, and 1 great goal. Like I keep saying, one of the most improved players in the AFLW. 2 votes, bit of a change up here. Jamie Lambert didn't have her most influential game as she had the last 3 weeks, but still had a really good game. 7 tackles, 1 goal, 22 disposals, and that amazing smother. 3 votes today, Britt Benici, 22 disposals, 6 tackles. She was just everywhere. Like I said, she was that important cog in the midfield and trying to get us going when she was able to. Alright, so that's it for the AFLW review. Let's jump into the State of Origin review. What an absolute spectacle we were witness to yesterday. So as we know, the State of Origin came back for a one-off, hopefully not a one-off, but pretty much for the bushfire relief. All money raised was going to bushfire-ridden communities to help them out. It was an amazing initiative by the AFL, the AFL Players Association, and even, the AFLW as well, because they were a part of it. So it was Vic vs All-Stars, the best of the best of the best of the best, and that's exactly what we saw. I've never been witness to, probably the last time I saw a game like this, obviously, was the last State of Origin. But what I mean by that is, it was fast, it was quick. There was barely any, setups and defensive and back kicks. It was just go, go, go as soon as that ball got bounced. And it was just amazing to see. All-Stars got off to a great start, kicked the first 3 goals, but they were super inaccurate. What is an AFL game without one team kicking more points than they kick goals, though? So there was nothing new there. There was 39 goals kicked all up. Victoria obviously coming away with the win, but that 39 goals was amazing. It was just multiple guys kicking multiple goals, and the style of goals were really well. The running game, I just mentioned it, but it was just, I haven't seen running like that for so long. It was just that link-up play, and that's what happens when you get the best of the best playing. Pendlebury made note a couple of weeks back, probably last week, in an interview where the last State of Origin game that he played, which was about 10 years ago, he reckons that as soon as the ball hit the deck, it was a turnover. So what he means by that was it was very skillful, very silky, and that's exactly what was on offer for us yesterday. For Victoria, Papley kicked 5 goals, Green and Kelly kicked 4 goals each, but you don't really see those big tallies in normal games because, like I said, because there wasn't a lot of defensive pressure, in the sense that there wasn't a lot of zoning, there wasn't a lot of setup like that. The All-Stars had pretty much the game by the scruff of their neck in the third quarter. They were leading by about 30 points before Victoria kicked the last 10 or 11 goals, 9 goals in the last quarter. All-Stars didn't get a sniff of it, and they took the game 154 to 108. I think Pendlebury had one of his better games. Wasn't a 10 out of 10 game, but geez, he was very stiff not to win the best on ground. Dustin Martin got the best on ground. He kicked 2 goals, 3, went at 68 or 69% disposal efficiency. Pendles didn't kick a goal, but very influential in the middle. He went at about 89, 90% disposal efficiency. I think he was one of the better midfielders. But in saying that as well, Josh Kelly could have won it, and Toby Green could have won it as well. For the All-Stars, Charlie Cameron is showing why he is one of the best small forwards in the competition right now. Eddie Betts has been quoted saying that Charlie Cameron could be the best small forward in the history of the AFL, and he's not far off with that statement. Charlie Cameron, I love watching him play. I watched that Brisbane Richmond game last year, or those 2 Brisbane Richmond games, and Charlie Cameron, when he's on fire and pretty much unstoppable. The usual culprits for the All-Stars, well, not the usual All-Star culprit, but the usual bog players for their respective teams. Fife, Flockeniel, Cripps, Grundy, and Caniglio were all amazing for the All-Stars. As for the Collingwood boys, because Swoopers, this is what you come here for. Pendlebury, like I said, 27 disposals, 89% disposal efficiency. Huge top out of the middle to set up a goal. He was at his best. Brodie Grundy for the All-Stars. A bunch of hit-outs. He went up against Goldstein and Stefan Martin. Beautiful hit-out to Caniglio to set up a goal. And it was just perfect Grundy. And he's worth every single year of that 7-year contract. Jeremy Howe was sound in defence. Huge leaps. Couldn't take a big grab, which would have just put the icing on the absolute cake for the Collingwood boys. Still side bottom. Bit of a quieter night, but when he did have the ball, showed what he can do with it, showed why he was selected, and without the ball, hard runner as always. But now let's talk about my boy Darcy Moore, and seeing him in a big V jumper, number 1, amazing. Number 2, lining up on the big forwards, and just the confidence in himself to back himself. He was running out of defence at full pace, or running at the ball at full pace, and it was just amazing to see until in, I think it was the 3rd or the 4th quarter, it looked like he had tweaked his hamstring in some footage. And I would be lying to you if I didn't say that my heart was stuck in my throat. It was, I thought, nah, this can't be. Not now. Not after the good preseason he's had. Not after the good game he's played. But thankfully he was back on and didn't have a big second half as much as he did the big first half. Obviously in the last quarter there wasn't a lot to do because the ball barely went to the All-Star side. But Darcy Moore has to be signed as soon as we can. He will be an All-Australian defender this year. He could potentially captain the club, and he can be a Collingwood legend. So a couple of things about the State of Origin that I wanted to say. Number 1, would love to see this every single goddamn year. Doesn't have to be Vic versus All-Stars. Could be, Western Australia versus South Australia. It could be, maybe, what would you say, like 2 weeks before, not before the start of the season, but 2 weeks in general, create like a couple of mini matches to determine who will be playing at the MCG, maybe for the big trophy game, because it wouldn't be fair if Victoria just versus South Australia next year, for example, and then Western Australia versus Tasmania the year after. Create like a round robin tournament, see who gets to play, who's the best of the best. Number 2, I felt like the game went on forever. It was 20-minute quarters, but I know the quarters, with the stoppages and stuff, probably came up to about half an hour. The game went on for like 3 hours. I don't know if it was because I was getting used to the girls' game, 17 and a half minutes, but Jesus Christ, the game went on for so long, but it was worth it. It was a really good game. All right, Swoopers, if you stayed around this long, thank you so much. Bit of a longer video because I'm reviewing 2 games, but I really appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, and until next time, double shackers, I'll swoop you later. If this is your first time tuning in to Swoop Luke, a big welcome, and if you're, what's the word? What's the opposite of non-stagnant? Static? Melbourne were very static in their forward line.